The silent observation. The galaxy was wide, endless, and full of ancient empires. Stars burned like watchful eyes, and countless ships moved from one system to another, carrying trade, soldiers, or secrets. To most races, humanity was still a young species. They had only begun to leave their small blue planet a few centuries ago. Compared to the empires that ruled for tens of thousands of years, humans were seen as children, reckless and unprepared for the true scale of galactic power. The Galactic Empire especially held this belief. Their council often laughed when the word human was mentioned. To them, the humans were noisy, ambitious, and careless. They fought among themselves, wasted resources, and built ships that looked fragile compared to the elegant designs of alien fleets. Whenever humans sent ships into deep space, the Empire believed they were sending toys, not war machines. But in the shadows, something was changing. Far from the center of the Empire, on the edge of a quiet star system, alien scouts noticed a strange signal. At first it looked ordinary, just another ship leaving hyperspace. Yet as the scanners adjusted, the readings became darker, heavier, and far more powerful than expected. The ship that appeared was massive. Its outline was unlike anything the aliens had ever seen. It did not have the smooth curves of Empire ships nor the delicate patterns of other advanced races. It was brutal, sharp, and terrifying in its simplicity. The alien captain on the observation post felt his throat dry. His crew stared at the holographic display with wide eyes. The readings showed weapons arrays larger than battleships, engines strong enough to move entire fleets, and armor so thick that no known weapon could cut through it quickly. The captain whispered, almost afraid to believe the data. "This is human?" The crew checked the identifiers again. The answer returned the same each time. Human origin, human design, human control. The silence in the command deck grew heavy. For decades, the Empire had believed humans could not build serious warships. Their fleets were always smaller, weaker, and less organized. Yet this single ship shattered that idea in an instant. The alien officer standing beside the captain spoke with a shaking voice. "It cannot be. No human ship has ever carried such power. They do not have the resources. They do not have the knowledge. This should not exist." The captain's eyes never left the screen. And yet it does. The ship drifted forward, silent in the void, its engines glowing faintly. It carried no markings of peace. There were no signals declaring alliance or trade. It was simply there, like a dark mountain cutting across the stars. The scanners picked up movement across its hull. Weapons shifted as if alive, watching everything around them. In the nearby system, whispers spread quickly. The observation post sent encrypted messages to the Empire. Other listening stations caught fragments of the signal and forwarded them to their masters. Within hours, the news reached powerful ears. The Empire Council gathered in secrecy to discuss what the scouts had seen. The image of the ship filled the council chamber. The alien nobles stared in disbelief. Some leaned back in fear, others shook their heads in denial. "This must be a trick," one of them said. "A false reading, a staged creation, maybe even stolen alien tech made to look human." But the data could not lie. Every piece of information pointed back to Earth. The humans had built this. The most terrifying thought came when one counselor asked a single question. If they can build one, how many more can they build? The chamber grew silent. Even the strongest voices of arrogance could not answer. Back at the observation post, the alien crew kept watching. They noticed how the ship's weapons did not fire, how its engines did not chase targets. It was calm, patient, almost as if it was aware of being watched. Some believed the humans had released it on purpose, letting the galaxy see their new creation, letting fear spread on its own. For the first time in centuries, the Galactic Empire felt something it had not felt in a long time. Not pride, not control, not arrogance. Fear. The captain whispered again, softer this time, almost to himself. "If this is what they build in silence, what else waits behind the veil?" The ship turned slowly, its engines humming like thunder. It moved past the star, its shadow covering the light, and then vanished into hyperspace. The observation post lost the signal, but the fear remained. Reports spread further across borders, across systems. Every race heard the same message. The humans had built something that should not exist. A warship that did not belong to their level of technology. A creation that challenged the balance of the galaxy itself. The whispers grew into questions. Were humans preparing for war? Was this a weapon meant for conquest or a shield meant for survival? No one knew. But one truth became clear to every empire, every fleet, every ruler. Humanity was no longer just another young race. Humanity had changed, and the galaxy would never look at them the same way again. The unthinkable design, the message of the human ship, spread like fire. In the dark halls of the Galactic Empire, whispers turned into fear, and fear turned into obsession. Everyone wanted to know how it was possible. How could humans, a race still mocked as primitive, create something that dwarfed even the oldest fleets? Across the galaxy, secret meetings were held. In the military academies, commanders replayed the ship's recordings. In scientific stations, engineers examined the faint details captured by the scanners. The more they studied, the more uneasy they became. The design of the warship was not elegant. It was not graceful like the fleets of the Empire. It was not even symmetrical in places. To alien eyes, it looked wrong, almost ugly. The armor was thick, layered in brutal slabs of metal. The weapons were not hidden or disguised. They were exposed, bold like claws ready to strike. There was no attempt at beauty, only purpose. Every part of the ship screamed one message: survival through destruction. One alien scientist, a veteran who had studied weapons for 200 years, sat in silence as he looked at the design. Finally he spoke, his voice trembling. This is not technology meant for balance. This is not a ship made to patrol or defend. This is war, distilled into steel. Others argued, trying to calm themselves. Perhaps it is stolen, one said. Perhaps humans found old ruins and copied what they saw, another added, but the data told a harsher truth. The energy signatures, the construction materials, even the engine design matched human industry. They had not copied. They had built this themselves. Inside the Empire's High Council, the atmosphere was tense. The nobles sat around the glowing projection of the warship. The lines of the ship hovered in the air, every detail clear. The council's leader, an elder with eyes sharp as a blade, leaned forward. They were never supposed to reach this level. Their growth was too fast, too reckless. And yet here it stands. If this is the path they have chosen, then we must ask ourselves, how far will they go? One of the generals, scales shining in the dim light, struck the table with his fist. Humans are a reckless race. They build because they fear. They fight because they cannot stop themselves. If this ship exists, then more will follow. And if more follow, our fleets will not be ready. The room fell silent. Everyone remembered the data. The weapons arrays, the reactor core that burned brighter than anything they had seen. The hull that could withstand bombardments for hours. This was not a ship to fight battles. This was a ship to win wars. Meanwhile, across the border systems, alien traders and smugglers carried rumors of the human ship. Some said it was larger than a city. Others whispered it could destroy planets. The stories grew wild, each more terrifying than the last. But one fact remained unshaken. Humans had built something the galaxy could not ignore. On a hidden moon, a group of alien spies gathered. They projected the ship's silhouette onto the cavern wall. The leader of the spies, cloaked in shadows, studied it carefully. "Look at the lines," he said. "It is not made to impress. It is made to kill." They do not waste time with beauty. They build what works. This is human design. Simple, brutal, effective. One of the younger spies asked, his voice low. "But why reveal it now? Why let us see it?" The leader gave a cold smile. "They did not reveal it. They let it pass, knowing we would watch. Fear is a weapon, and they are already using it." Back at the observation post where the ship was first seen, the alien captain replayed the recording again and again. Each time he felt the same unease. The warship moved with the patience of something alive. It did not rush. It did not hide. It simply existed, heavy and unstoppable, like a mountain drifting through space. He finally turned to his officers and spoke. "We were fools. We thought humans were behind us, but they are not behind. They have chosen another path, one we do not understand." The officers exchanged worried glances. One whispered, "If they can build one, perhaps they already have more." The thought spread like poison. What if this was not the only ship? What if an entire fleet waited, hidden in the void, ready to appear when the galaxy least expected it? In the great cities of the Empire, citizens began to hear rumors. Panic stirred quietly in the streets. Ordinary aliens asked questions their rulers could not answer. Was the balance of power ending? Would the humans strike first? The fear was not only in the Empire. Other great races, rivals and allies alike, began to watch humans more closely. In distant outposts, cloaked ships followed human freighters. Spies infiltrated colonies. Every race wanted the same thing, to know if the humans were preparing for war, and yet the humans remained silent. They made no declaration, no explanation. They simply let the image of their warship echo across the galaxy. The silence was louder than words. One counselor of the Empire, older than most, spoke what many were afraid to admit. "Do you not see? The ship is not only metal, it is a message. It says we are ready. Challenge us and you will learn why you should not have." The words sank deep into the hearts of those who listened. For the first time, the Galactic Empire realized that their laughter had ended. The humans had grown. The humans had built what no one believed possible. And the galaxy, once secure in its power, now stood on the edge of fear. The Empire in fear, the warship had vanished into hyperspace, but its shadow remained heavy across the galaxy. For the Galactic Empire, it was no longer a question of if the humans had built such a vessel, but what they intended to do with it. The Empire's strength had lasted for thousands of years because of one belief. They were untouchable. No younger race could challenge them. But now, with the image of that human ship burned into their minds, the first cracks began to show. Inside the central chamber of the High Council, the atmosphere was unlike anything seen in centuries. The hall, usually filled with calm debate and the pride of rulers, now pulsed with tension. The warship's projection hovered above them, rotating slowly, every detail visible. Nobles and generals, scientists and advisors all stared as if the ship itself was alive. The Emperor's voice broke the silence. It was deep, heavy, but uncertain in a way that startled those listening. This cannot be ignored. One ship of this scale could change wars. A fleet could end empires. Murmurs spread across the chamber. Some counselors shook their heads in denial. "It is an illusion," one said. "A trick of their primitive minds," another added. "They cannot build such things without help. Someone else must be behind them." But the military commanders were less dismissive. One of them, a scarred veteran who had fought in 3 galactic wars, raised his hand and spoke firmly. "I know what I saw in those reports. I know the readings are true. That ship is not a rumor. It is a reality. And if they have built one, it means they understand things we never believed they could." The room fell quiet. His words carried the weight of experience. A scientist rose, holding data displays in his trembling hands. "The reactor core alone is beyond anything we possess. It produces energy levels high enough to power an entire city for centuries. And their weapons, if the readings are correct, could pierce even our strongest shields in minutes." One counselor leaned forward, his voice sharp with fear. "Do you hear yourselves? We are describing a weapon of empire-breaking scale, built by a race that was meant to still be learning how to walk among the stars." Another noble tried to calm the room. "Perhaps they will not use it. Perhaps it is only for defense." But the general slammed his hand against the table. "Defense? That ship is not defense. That ship is a predator. No race builds such a thing unless they expect blood." The Emperor sat in silence, his eyes fixed on the glowing silhouette of the warship. For centuries, the Empire had dismissed humanity as a noisy distraction, a people who rushed into the stars without patience. And yet, perhaps that rushing had led them here, to something no one had expected. In the lower levels of the capital world, rumors had already reached the people. Citizens whispered in the streets, asking questions their leaders could not silence. What if the humans come? What if the Empire is no longer the strongest? Fear spread faster than truth, and soon even the loyal citizens of the Empire began to doubt the safety of their rulers. On distant colony worlds, governors sent frantic requests for more soldiers. Merchants demanded protection for their trade routes. Every shadow, every unknown signal was suddenly feared as the approach of the human warship. The paranoia infected the military most of all. Fleet admirals began to move ships closer to the borders of human space. Patrols doubled. Scanners swept the void endlessly. Some commanders even fired on unknown vessels, terrified that they might be the humans' new creation. The more the Empire prepared, the more it showed its fear. And the humans said nothing. They remained silent, offering no explanation, no denial. That silence spoke louder than any weapon. In the council chamber, arguments grew louder. One side demanded immediate war. "Strike them before they strike us," they said. "Destroy their shipyards, wipe out their colonies, remind them who rules the stars." The other side urged caution. If we provoke them and they already have more ships, we could be destroyed. We must wait, observe, and learn. The debate split the empire. Nobles accused each other of weakness. Generals accused each other of recklessness. Trust eroded and fear turned allies into rivals. Meanwhile, spies were sent into human space. They tried to infiltrate colonies, hack into communications, bribe traders. Yet every report returned empty. Humans had tightened their security. Every secret was locked away. Some spies never came back at all. The Emperor finally spoke again after hours of debate. His voice was cold, heavy like iron striking stone. We cannot show weakness. We will watch them. We will prepare. And if they reveal more ships, we will act. Until then, we wait. The council bowed, but unease lingered in every eye. Outside, beyond the Empire's grand palaces and war fleets, the galaxy itself trembled with the same fear. Smaller races watched carefully. Some considered alliances with the humans, believing it safer to stand beside them than against them. Others begged the Empire for protection but found little comfort in their ruler's silence. Everywhere the same question spread. If humans could build such a ship, what else were they capable of? The alien captain at the first observation post, now recalled to the capital, stood alone in his quarters. He stared at the star-filled sky and whispered the thought that haunted him since the moment he saw it. If one ship can make the Empire afraid, then the future does not belong to the Empire anymore. It belongs to the humans. The words were carried away into silence. But silence itself was dangerous now because silence was the weapon humanity used best, and in that silence the galaxy waited. The human message, the galaxy had waited. The Empire had debated. Spies had vanished. Fleets had moved like shadows across the stars. But the humans remained silent. Their warship had appeared once, then disappeared into the dark. No challenge, no declaration, not even a whisper followed. It was as if humanity had thrown a stone into the waters of the galaxy and then watched the ripples spread endlessly. For weeks, the silence itself became unbearable. Every race watched the edges of human space, expecting another ship, another revelation. Yet nothing came. The silence grew heavy like a storm building beyond the horizon. Then one day, the storm broke. Across the border systems, comms arrays lit up without warning. Encrypted signals pierced through defenses, moving with a precision no alien network could block. On the central world of the Galactic Empire, alarms sounded as the message arrived. The Emperor and his council rushed to the great chamber, their hearts pounding, as the signal unfolded into sound and image. It was not an alien transmission. It was not masked in elegance or ceremony. It was human. The holographic display flickered. A single figure appeared, standing in the shadow of something vast. Behind him, the faint outline of the warship loomed like a mountain against the stars. His uniform was simple, his face calm. There was no arrogance in his voice, but there was weight. Weight that pressed against every listener like cold iron. This is Commander Elias Ward of the Terran Fleet. His words carried across systems, across languages, translated instantly by machines. His tone was steady, unbroken. You have seen what we have built. You have studied it. You are afraid of it. That is good. You should be afraid, gasps filled the council chamber. Generals leaned forward. Nobles whispered to one another in shock. Ward's eyes never moved. His voice did not rise. He simply continued. We did not build this ship for conquest. We did not build it to dominate. We built it because you forced us to. For centuries we have heard your laughter. We have felt your contempt. You thought we were children playing with tools too sharp for our hands. You believed we would never rise. The silence in the chamber deepened. Every word landed like a blade. But humanity has always built in silence. While you looked down on us, we worked. While you dismissed us, we learned. And while you believed yourselves safe, we prepared. Ward stepped aside, and for a moment the warship behind him filled the projection completely. Its massive weapons shifted, alive with power. The glow of its engines burned like a sun. The image alone made many counselors shiver. Ward's voice returned. This ship is not the last. It is the first. If you strike us, if you force war upon us, then you will face not one but many. And when that day comes, the galaxy will remember who underestimated humanity. He paused. His eyes, cold and unwavering, seemed to stare directly into the hearts of those watching. We seek peace, but do not mistake our silence for weakness. If you bring war to our world, we will answer it. And you will not like our answer. The transmission ended. The chamber erupted. Some nobles screamed in anger. Others trembled in fear. Generals argued violently, their voices echoing across the walls. The emperor sat frozen, his face pale, his claws gripping the edge of his throne. One counselor whispered, almost too softly to hear, "They are not warning us. They are telling us the future." The fear spread beyond the council. On colony worlds, ordinary citizens replayed the message over and over, listening to the calm voice of the human commander. Many had never feared humans before. Now they spoke of them in hushed tones, as if saying their name too loudly would bring the warship to their skies. In rival empires, rulers studied the message carefully. Some saw opportunity. Perhaps an alliance with humanity could break the power of the Galactic Empire once and for all. Others saw doom, believing that siding with humans meant standing beside a storm. The Empire itself fractured further. Some voices demanded immediate retaliation, to crush the humans before they could build more, but others argued it was already too late. The humans had revealed not only a ship but a truth. They were no longer a weak race. They had stepped onto the stage of power and no one could push them back. On the capital world, the Emperor met privately with his closest advisors. His voice was hollow, drained of the pride it once carried. "They have given us a choice. Do we call their bluff or do we accept their rise?" No one answered, because deep inside every one of them felt the same dreadful truth. This was no bluff. Across the galaxy, silence followed once more, but this silence was different. It was not the silence of waiting. It was the silence of realization. The balance had shifted. The old powers could no longer laugh at humanity. They could no longer pretend humans were irrelevant. Humanity had spoken and the galaxy listened. The message would echo for generations, not because of its length, but because of its weight. It was not a declaration of war. It was something colder. It was a promise, and promises once spoken by humanity were never broken. The terrifying future. The human message ended, but its shadow spread across the stars. Whole empires paused their wars, their politics, their rivalries, as if all were waiting to see what humanity would do next. It was not the warship alone that terrified them. It was the silence that followed the words. The humans had spoken once and then they disappeared again, leaving the galaxy to drown in its own fear. For the Galactic Empire, the silence was unbearable. Their fleets patrolled endlessly, burning fuel, exhausting soldiers, but no human ship appeared. The council demanded answers, but none came. Spies returned empty-handed, if they returned at all. The humans had closed their doors and no one could see inside. Rumors spread like wildfire. Some claimed Earth now hid entire shipyards beneath its oceans, building fleets that would one day rise like leviathans from the deep. Others whispered that the humans had discovered secrets from long-dead civilizations, knowledge even the ancients had feared. Some even believed the humans had bargained with something beyond the stars, something no one else dared approach. But no one knew the truth. And in that uncertainty, fear grew stronger. On the capital world of the Empire, the Emperor walked alone through the silent gardens of his palace. His advisors spoke endlessly of strategy, of retaliation, of alliances, but none of it mattered. He had seen the message with his own eyes. He had felt the weight of the human commander's voice. He whispered to himself as he looked at the stars above, "They do not need to fight us to win. They only need us to fear them." And already, we do. The words were true beyond his walls. Entire border colonies of the Empire began to falter. Farmers left their fields, traders refused to travel. Governors begged for more soldiers, not because humans had attacked, but because humans might. Fear ruled where once the Empire's pride had lived. Even among rival empires, cracks appeared. Some secretly reached out to humanity, sending hidden envoys with desperate offers, protection, technology, even surrender. Better to stand beside humanity than against them, they thought. Better to bend than to be broken. Others began to prepare for the worst, building weapons, fortifying worlds as if waiting for the first human fleet to arrive. But the humans sent no fleets. They launched no invasion. They simply let the galaxy collapse beneath its own paranoia. The observation post that had first seen the warship remained active, though its crew was changed many times. The station commander who had once whispered in fear was gone, replaced by younger officers. Yet even they could not escape the memory. Every day they replayed the old recording, staring at the monstrous outline of the human ship, trying to understand what they had seen. Each time the fear returned. Each time the same thought echoed. If one ship can do this, what would 10 do? What would 100? In hidden academies, alien scholars tried to explain humanity's rise. Some argued that humans had advanced too quickly, breaking rules of science that others obeyed. Others believed it was something deeper, something within the human nature itself. They were not the strongest race. They were not the oldest. They were not even the most intelligent. But they were relentless. Every failure became a lesson. Every weakness became a weapon. Every insult became fuel. And now that relentlessness had birthed a warship that the galaxy could not stop thinking about. One scholar wrote words that spread across the stars. Even when censored by the Empire, they laughed at humanity. They mocked their weakness. And now they fear their strength. If this is only their beginning, then perhaps the galaxy does not belong to the ancients anymore. Perhaps it belongs to the ones who never stop moving forward. The Empire tried to silence those words, but it was too late. The idea had taken root. For the first time in history, the galaxy began to imagine a future not ruled by the old powers, but by the young, unbroken will of mankind. On Earth itself, life continued in silence. The warship returned home unseen by outsiders. Behind closed doors, the humans spoke of their plans, but no message was sent. The galaxy was left in darkness, wondering, waiting, fearing. That waiting was worse than any weapon. Generals across the Empire whispered of sleepless nights. They dreamed of fleets of human ships rising from the void, covering stars, blotting out suns. Merchants woke in panic, imagining human banners above their trade routes. Even children in the streets began to play new games, pretending to be humans in mighty warships, chasing alien fleets into retreat. Fear had become a language, and humanity had written its first word. The final shadow fell not with the roar of engines, but with the whisper of realization. One alien leader, old and tired, said it aloud before his council. "We were never afraid of the humans before. Now we are afraid of what they will become. That is worse." The galaxy listened to his words, and no one disagreed. In the dark beyond the stars, unseen by all, the human warship drifted once more. Its engines burned softly, patient, waiting. The galaxy did not know where it would appear again. They only knew that when it did, nothing would ever be the same. And so the galaxy held its breath, caught between fear of the present and terror of the future, because somewhere in the silence the humans were building, somewhere in the shadows they were preparing. The galaxy had laughed at humanity once. It would never laugh again.